going to prove myself to the world. Watch me, I'll show you. And by the way, F you. I want to keep it like decent here. So anyway, and I joined, and they said, yeah, but you're lucky. And I said, not really. There's no luck attached to that. We know all of that, you know. And I saw people walking around with stars and stripes, and I said, wow, wouldn't that be great to become one of them? And I went home and I told everybody, you know, I'm going to apply for, and they say, no, you're not going to make it. Who do you think you are? It's not going to happen. And by the way, you have to study for that. And I was like, yeah, that's true. And me and studying, and we're not best friends. I mean, and but I applied anyway, and before I knew it, I became a sergeant, an engineer in building bridges and roads and buildings. And I was, wow. And I moved to Germany at that time. And that was an amazing time. But then I saw people jumping out of airplanes, special forces, and I said, wow, this is me, jumping out of an airplane. I mean, is there anybody ever jumped from an airplane or parachute jumping? Yeah? I mean, it's pretty amazing, isn't it? And but special forces is a different thing, you know, it's a discipline, it's this and that. And anyway, applied, and I got in. People say, you're crazy, they're gonna, you know, they're gonna drop you in war zone, you're gonna get killed, you're gonna get this blah, 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 and say, yeah, sure, watch me, I'll show you, I'll do it anyway. And, but then all of a sudden I was sitting on my hiney in a C-130, I don't know if you know C-130 Hercules, these logistic aircraft where the back opens up and then you run and you jump. And I was sitting on my hiney and I was like, watching the pilot. I said, wow, that guy has an amazing job. Flying. And I said, you know what? I will fly. I don't care. Now you do have to realize my diploma in school is hotel school. I'm a cook, a certified cook, whatever that means. And so I applied. I went home and I couldn't hold myself. I told everybody, I mean, I'm going to become a pilot. And they're like, no, you're not going to become a pilot. This is not for you, man. This is too complicated. I said, yeah, maybe. Let's see what happens. Long story short, a year later I was flying my own aircraft in the forces. And it's not about me, it's not about what I did. It's about, you know, if you want something in life, especially what you do right now in the moment, just keep going and build and believe in it, because that's what I did. And then I left the forces in 1991, and in 1995 I started my business. And I was dreaming about collaborating with Tony Robbins, and he said, you know, this is not going to happen, forget it. And Marla, we know each other for quite a while, right?
Yeah.
And he said it's not going to happen. And again, long story short, I've been working with Tony for the last decade now. And people say, how do you do that? I said, I don't know. You just do it. You just believe in yourself and do what you have to do to get there, right? And I've been meeting lots of influential speakers, been collaborating with Brian Tracy and Jack Canfield and Jerry Robbins, Tony's son. I've been working with a lot of people all over the planet, been in Australia, been in the Far East, in Thailand, and in the Middle East. I've been working with people in Iran. People said, you're going to Iran? I said, yeah. You crazy? I said, why? Because media is crazy. You do realize that, right? They shovel you stuff through your throat and you believe it, but I was in Iran twice, most beautiful country on the planet. So then in Europe, a lot in the US. And that's a little bit about me. And why body language? When I was a little kid, I was watching people. I wanted to know why they do what they do. Because a lot of the times I saw people making moves, and it didn't make sense to me, but what they said. Ever had that feeling? You're speaking to somebody, and you suddenly say like, there's something that, something. Ever had that gut feeling, right?
Yeah.
You had that gut feeling with somebody when you interact with somebody. And I was very curious, how does that work? I mean, sometimes I hear people say, fake it until you make it. And that might work for you in the short term, but in the long term it doesn't work. Right? Because your body, that's one to remember, will never lie. Your body signs that you put out there will never lie. And that's, you don't know nothing about body language, but when somebody's speaking to you and your gut feeling says like, that's in fact your body saying, the signals I receive, the vibrations that I get, the energy that has been transferred towards me on a certain frequency, there's something wrong with that. But once you start learning the techniques of body language, you go far more in depth in body language, you don't need that gut feeling anymore. You ask 2 questions and you find out who you're talking to. It's as simple as that. Now, I'm not going to give you 4-hour speech here because I'm like, and you have to tell me, Rene.
I will.
Okay.
Yay.
Because when I start, I can't quit. I can't stop. But the thing about body language is it's all about leveling. And this is a topic in body language. I can show you all the signs: open hands, closed hands, handshaking. But it is all about leveling. And leveling with somebody is very important in a conversation. And how do you level with somebody? The first thing to level with is your eyes, right? How many of you know you got a right brain and a left brain, right? How many of you have no brain?
Big questionable.
So the right brain, remember that, is your emotional brain. Your left brain is your rational brain. And it's connected with your eyes diagonally. Okay? That means that your right brain is connected with your left eye, and your left brain is connected with your right eye. Okay? Now, if I talk to somebody and I talk about emotional things, I will look with my left eye into their left eye. Why would I do that? Anybody? Because I want to connect my right brain with their right brain. The quality of my conversation and outcome will be far more higher. Does that make sense? If I talk about rational things, I will look with my right eye into their right eye. Even move my body a little bit like this. So I show the right part of my body, my right ear and my right eye, and I look at the right eye. I connect my left brain with their left brain. The outcome of our conversation, the result, will be from a far more higher level. Make sense? Mm-hmm. If this is too complicated and you still have questions, come and see me afterwards, right? I really want you to learn this because it's so powerful. Okay. Now, I was watching, I forgot your name, journalist.
Ray.
Ray. I was watching Ray when he was speaking, and I saw your eyes going that way and then that way. So let me explain what you did, right? And this is very important for all of you when you have a conversation with somebody. If I ask an emotional question and I get an answer, people have the tendency to look in a certain way. And I was watching you, Ray, while you were doing your conversation, and all of a sudden you were looking left, up, so you were recalling a memory from something, right? And then you went to the right, making a construction of something. So when I ask you an emotional question, hey, how was your trip to Egypt last year? Because I'm going this year, and I need to know the do's and the don'ts in Egypt. How did that go for you? And then you go to the right up, making a construction of something you should remember. For me, that's a red flag. If I have too many red flags in a row, you're probably lying to me. Because you can't say after one answer, this is a lie. No, you have to ask multiple questions. If you go for a job, if you go apply for a job, they will ask you several questions, and most of the questions are the same, but they ask them differently to see if you are congruent in your answers. Ever had that experience? Right? So when I speak to you and I ask you questions, which questions should I ask? Have you any idea? Anybody an idea of what question I should ask you? What kind of question? No? Nobody?
Tag us.
I'm kind of silent, you know?
We're scared to be
But-
wrong.
Are you looking for open questions?
Exactly, open-ended question. So, an open question is start with why, what, where, when, who, which, and how. So, how was your trip to Egypt? Why did you go to Egypt? What did you eat for lunch? These are open questions. Now, when you ask an open question, you have to be that smart to zip your mouth afterwards. Because a lot of people keep talking, right? So you ask a question, zoom, done. And nobody loves silence. Nobody loves silence. I don't know one person on the planet that loves silence. So what happens is that we're going to start talking. We're going to share the story. Keep your mouth zipped and listen to the story. Look where the eyes are going. Look to what is the body language telling you, right? And these are all signs you can work with. Now, while you're listening, you can ask a new question based on the answer you got, right? You can read their body language while they are doing the talking. You can define the fact if they are lying to you, yes or no, because their eyes are going in a certain way, right? And there's so much more you can do that when asking questions. On top of that, if you ask a question and you zip your mouth, they can do the talking, you're giving away significance to the person, so they grow. So there's a lot of advantages in doing conversations like that. And when you leave that conversation, they will say, that's the first person to understand me. And the only thing you did was asking questions. You didn't say a word. And that's the mistake a lot of people make in business. They do all the talking, and then they ask the question, hey, do you want to do business with me? They go like, no. They go like, huh? I told them everything, and they don't want to get into business with me. Why? Well, you should shut up your mouth. Ask questions. Why are you talking to me? I had a question from somebody in the Middle East. We would like to have you as a speaker here in Abu Dhabi and blah, 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 blah. I said, okay, why are you talking to me? They go like, what? Yeah, why do you want me? Based on what? And then you zip it and you let them do the talking. Before, I don't know if we're good in time, but there's an exercise I would like for you to do. It's a very simple exercise. If you go into a meeting, a sales, a conversation with business partners, clients, family, you are in a certain state in that moment. Would you agree? Yeah. In an emotional state or in a rational state. Now, if you are going into a business meeting and you have to negotiate about £2 million, just an example, and you're in an emotional state, your decision will be based on your emotional state. You might make a different decision than if you would be in a rational state. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So how can you find out you're in an emotional state or in a rational state? Anybody? Yeah, listen, there's not such a thing as a stupid answer, right? There's only stupid questions. Anybody who, if you have an idea, please feel free to share.
Yeah, how you feel.
How you
I was
feel.
thinking
How you feel, exactly. How can you find out how you feel? Okay. We all have a left eye, right eye, okay? So your right eye, as I mentioned, is your rational eye. By the way, how do you remember that? Because this is complete new information, I guess. Think about Rolls-Royce. The logo of Rolls-Royce is RR, right rational. And it's pretty obvious that left is emotional then, right? So right rational Rolls-Royce, okay? Now if you know that your right eye is your rational eye, right? And your left eye is your emotional eye, I'm gonna ask you to do something with me together. We're gonna do it together. So you spread your arms like this, spread them like this, and your hands like this, like this. You put them together, and in between the two thumbs, make sure you get a little hole in the middle here. Here, in the middle, a little hole, right? Right? And then you keep your arms spread. You look with both eyes open through that little hole and focus on one spot. On one spot. One spot only. Now close one eye. Do you still see it? No. So you spread your arms, you look through the hole on one, and then you close one eye. Do you still see it?
No.
No. Those who said no, your other eye is your dominant eye.
And that changes.
And that can change along the state you are in. So if you didn't see it with your right eye, your left eye is your dominant eye in the moment. That means you're in an emotional state. Does that make sense? Let's do it again. Spread your arms. I can change it. Spread your arms. Have a little hole in the middle, but you have to keep your arms straight, right? Look through the hole and focus on a spot, on a specific spot, and then close one eye. If you don't see it, if you no longer see it, close that eye and open up the other one. Do you see it now?
Yes.
That's your dominant eye in the moment. So if you are going into a business meeting, you go into a business meeting in an emotional state, you did the exercise in your car, in the toilet, whatever, nobody can see you, right? And you think, oh my goodness, I'm in an emotional state, I'm going to a business meeting. Okay, what should I pay attention to? Should I change my, how fast can you change your mindset? like that, a split second. How many of you went to Tony Robbins before? Right? I know.
Who is
That's
Tony
my partner, by the way.
Who is Tony Robbins?
Who's Tony Robbins? Yeah, it's an amazing dude. I've been working for more than a decade with him now. I used to be a smoker. Is there anybody has questions? And now I'm going to finalize it with that little story.
So yeah, who is Tony Robbins?
Yeah, I'm going to explain.
Oh, right, okay, that's right.
But is there anybody has a question, particular question, personal question about body language, non-verbal communication? Yes, please.
Doing the test I've just done then, okay, so say I'd probably be more concerned going into a meeting in an emotional state rather than a rational state.
Yeah.
So if obviously I've had a row with my husband before I walked in, blah, 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 and I'm feeling, not that I never am, you know what I mean? I'd be thinking, okay, how could I easily bring, okay, I can try and talk myself down, I can try and calm, breathing, you know, all those. Is there anything else that I would be able to do to really try and reduce that emotional?
The most important exercise, and you mentioned it, is breathing exercise.
It's breathing, so it's
Yeah.
really getting your breathing.
Yeah. When you are in a happy state, you breathe a certain way. When you are angry, you breathe in a certain way. When you have anxiety, you breathe in a certain way. No matter the state you're in, you're always breathing in a certain way. Would you agree?
Yeah.
If you can control your breathing, you can actually control your state. Does that make sense? If you watch Will Smith and Jay Shetty jumping out of an airplane in Dubai, there's a video on YouTube.
Yeah.
You'll see Jay Shetty is explaining how breathing is working. But breathing exercises are calming you down, putting your feet back on the ground, and then, it's helping a lot. It's helping a lot, breathing exercises. Anybody else has a question?
One question.
Yeah?
Okay. My question is based on the legal exercise you've just done. When I put my hands together and I can look through the hole,
Yeah?
then I'm focusing on this little diagram there.
Yeah?
Anyway, when I close my left eyes,
Yeah?
I can still see it.
Yeah?
But when I close my right eyes, it's gone. So does that mean this is my rational eye?
No, your rational eye is always your right eye.
It's always my right eye.
Your right eye is always rational. Your left is always emotional.
Emotion is.
So if you could still see it with your right eye, it means
Yeah.
your rational eye is in the moment you're in the rational state.
Okay, good.
Okay? It's okay, you have to ask these questions because I want to really.
Yeah, because
I
I
want for
really know
you.
what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, I'm understanding.
And one quick question, does that apply if you're left-handed as well? Because the brain switches around a bit, doesn't it, for those people?
Normally it's always like that.
Okay.
But we're all human beings and nobody is the same. So it could be different.
Oh, okay.
It's a particular thing, but when you're right-handed, left-hander, you can do the test in certain many ways. Ask yourself emotional questions and rational questions.
Yeah.
How do you react to that? But it's a completely different chapter. That's far more in depth. It's,
So, so are you suggesting then that you should get yourself into a rational state for business meetings rather than taking emotion in?
That's a choice you have to make. That's a personal choice. If you feel like I'm in an emotional state and I go to a business meeting where I should be rational, then it's pretty obvious you should change your state. I'm from Belgium, by the way. If I make some vocabulary mistakes, but that's a choice you have to make. I can't make that for you. But if you feel like I'm in a very emotional state, I'm going to a business meeting, I should change my state, then it's necessary. But that is something specific, something personal. Right?
Are you going to give us the tools to change from
No, I'm running out of time.
But then how do we do it? Because I've done it like 5 times and I get the left eye every time.
That means you're in an emotional state.
Right, so how do I change that?
Mindset,
It's breathing.
thinking differently.
You need to talk to
Breathing
Francis.
exercise.
You need to talk to Francis about breathing exercises.
Another question, yes.
to Ray.
Rational state.
It's quite like what you said, the last point, the mindset, because if you obviously provided some evidence there, jumping out of aircraft, breathing, etc. Thing is, sometimes it's quite complicated. Your brain is independent of your breathing. You're voluntarily breathing in a sort of regular way rather than anxious, etc. But at the end of the day, if your mindset is emotional, you can control your emotional mindset with your breathing. With your breathing. So I think it's trying, what you said, the mindset, the last point, is important. You've got to try and convince yourself that that meeting, everything will be all right. Calm down, you know,
Okay.
rather than just breathing. It's more complicated.
How do you change emotions to rational? First question you have to ask yourself, how does a rational person think? Do you know that?
I'm clearly emotional rather than rational, so
Okay,
I don't
but
know.
how does a rational person think?
Very straight.
Very
Black
straight.
and white.
Very straight. What else?
Facts are facts.
Facts are facts. What else?
Focus.
Focus. What else?
Belief.
Belief. What else?
Faith in yourself.
Faith. Structure. Safety. Security.
Confidence in oneself.
Yeah, you just got the answer. You have to think how a rational person thinks. And once you start like leveling with that, you go into that business meeting in a rational state. Structure, safety, planning, believing in yourself. You're like, okay, let's do it. Let's go inside. And if you walk inside in a very emotional state, or you walk in like, hey guys, how are you doing? Different, right? The way you behave in your walking, in your talking, in your postures, your gestures, your micro expressions, you can change all of that and